Welcome, I'm Crafty Maryanne. Today let's look at what supplies we need and supplies that are helpful and useful for canning. As you can see, the table here has a lot of different supplies on it, and I'm going to go through each of them relatively quickly. We have pots and pans, and these are empty glass jars that we would use for canning. Our utensils, and over on the left I've got some home canned goodies. Alright, so for pressure canning, I've got this big guy. We're going to start with the big one. He does all my pressure canning. He does all of my quarts and quart jars. And if I have a lot of jam or jelly or anything else in smaller jars, I'll just fill him up and use him. But I've only got a few and a little bit like 2 pints, 3 pints, 4 pints, whatever is a small batch. I'll use my 6-quart Instapot. It makes it really easy. Put the water in, quick saute. You can do it for 10 or 15 minutes depending on your altitude. A little more old school, but still a very good way to be able to can is you can use a large pot as long as your jar will fit in it. And you have a ½ inch to an inch of water on top of the jar. So this one works out just fine. And this little guy here, I use him for my lids. You put some water in it, bring it right up to a simmer, turn it off, put your lids in, and that softens the rubber for the rim to go onto your jar. Alright, so let's look at our jars now. Here I've got quart jars. This one's a little bit under a quart. This is a pint, 1 cup, 1 cup, and for any time you do like an olive oil or a balsamic or any other, hot sauce, those kind of things. We have the little jars on the end. Now this one's a little bit special. This one it says Atlas Mason on it. And this one's actually from the Classico brand. There are a couple brands out there when you're getting like pasta sauce or salsa that actually come in jars that you can can it. They take their ring and the lid just fine. So if you look, when you go to the grocery store, you can usually find jars that you can reuse again. I will have links to all the equipment, plus any specialties stuff that I use down in the description below. Well, now that we've looked at all the jars, why don't we look at all the utensils? So equipment-wise, we went through and we had the pots and pans. I forgot to mention, it's really great if you have a blender. It makes making sauces so much easier. You don't have to. You can cut up and run a food mill or whatever you have. For me, I have a blender and I love all the things I can do with my blender. So utensils. I've got a strainer. I've got a funnel. This is made just for going right in. You can even use it. It doesn't fit quite the same on a wide mouth because it's much wider, but you can still use it to help get the food in the jar more easily. This is a funnel that I use for my little jars. That's a really bitty funnel. It fits just fine. These are my jar lifters. It's pretty self-explanatory. This is how you get your jars in and out of boiling water without hurting yourself. I have a whisk, I have a ladle, I have a little plastic knife, and this came from like fast food, or we picked up dinner somewhere and they sent utensils with us for the food. I like it, it's really soft and flexible, and you can easily use it to burp a jar and get those little air bubbles out when you filled it. We have a spatula, a spoon, chef's knife, paring knife, a mandolin, measuring cups, measuring spoons, and a peeler for our vegetables. It's a little hard to find jars, lids, and rings right now. There's been so much demand since COVID and people started gardening on their own and wanting to learn new things. So there's been a run at the store and it's hard to find some of the supplies. Or if you find them, sometimes they're just stupidly expensive. There's been lots of questions asking about brands, and I haven't had any brand name or otherwise that has ever really failed multiple times. I occasionally have a jar that doesn't seal, but nothing that would make you say, oh, I'm never touching that brand again. So some of the other things you'll need is lime and lemon juice, sure gel for jam and jelly, fruit pectin. This is where you can do lower sugar if you need to. They also have sure gel and lower sugar available. And fruit fresh, it's a pectin to help preserve the color.
Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for joining Crafty Maryanne.